Okay, so here is a fascinating reality. Achieving your absolute biggest goals, it doesn't actually start with a booming bank account, a lucky break, or even raw talent. Actually, scratch that. It starts completely invisibly. It starts right inside your own head. In this explainer, we are going to map out the exact mechanics of how a single, fleeting thought eventually physically alters the entire trajectory of your life.
All right, let's dive right into this. Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. Number 1, where success begins. 2, the chain of results. 3, rethinking positive thinking. 4, obstacles as opportunities. 5, action bridges the gap. And finally, 6, guarding your mental garden.
Starting off with Section 1, where success actually begins. If you asked most people what drives achievement, they'll almost immediately point to external things, right? Like having the right funding, stumbling into the perfect opportunity, or just being born with natural talent. But the source material we're looking at today flips that script entirely. It argues that before a person builds a successful life, they must first build a successful mindset. The true foundation of literally any achievement originates entirely internally. You simply cannot have a positive life with a negative mind. It just doesn't work that way.
And this brilliantly illustrates our next point in Section 2, the chain of results. So every single day you have thousands of thoughts. Some build you up, some tear you down, and over time, those repeated thoughts cement themselves into Step 2, your beliefs. If you constantly think, oh, I'm just not good enough, well, that becomes your belief. And then that belief directly dictates Step 3, your actions. You start to hesitate, you procrastinate. When you repeat those actions, they solidify into Step 4, which is habits. And those habits inevitably produce Step 5, your real-world results. So your life always follows the direction of your dominant thoughts. If you want different results, you have to trace it all the way back up the chain to Step 1.
Moving right along to Section 3, rethinking positive thinking.
So the crucial point here is that positive thinking is absolutely not delusional wishful thinking. It's not just sitting in a chair pretending everything is perfect and hoping your life magically gets better. Not at all. It is a highly practical, strategic tool. It's the conscious choice to believe that problems have actual solutions and that you are perfectly capable of finding them. It's a mindset of possibility rather than delusion.
Imagine two people facing the exact same obstacle. Person A looks at it and says, "This is impossible." And the second they say that, boom, their mind stops looking for a solution. They hesitate and they quit. Now, person B says, "Okay, this is difficult, but I can figure it out." It's the exact same obstacle, right? But entirely different thinking creates an entirely different outcome. Because person B believes a solution exists, their mind actively searches for ways forward instead of just searching for excuses.
That brings us to Section 4, obstacles as opportunities.
Look, everyone experiences setbacks. The defining difference is interpretation. Your mind is basically this incredibly efficient machine, and it's always searching for evidence to prove your existing beliefs right. If you're a negative thinker, you'll view failure as undeniable proof that the universe is against you and you should just stop. But if you're a positive thinker, you see that exact same failure as incredibly valuable feedback. It's a lesson, it's a stepping stone, and because you see it as feedback, you adapt and you continue. Ultimately, success usually belongs to the person who simply stays in the game the longest.
Genuinely, reflect on this for a second. When things go wrong, which of these two questions do you actually ask? Why is this happening to me? Is a question that keeps you completely trapped in a victim mindset. It just halts your progress. But asking what can I learn from this forces you to extract value from the pain. It quite literally forces you to grow.
I love this point from the source material. What challenges you changes you. Think of it like a growing tree. A tree actually grows much stronger because the wind blows against it. The resistance of that wind forces the tree's roots to dig deeper into the earth. Without the wind, the tree becomes weak and fragile. So your challenges aren't your enemies at all. They are literally your training ground for resilience.
Which leads us to a crucial pivot in Section 5. Action bridges the gap.
Here's a stern reality check. You can have the most finely tuned, wildly positive mindset in the entire world, but belief without action is empty. It is completely incomplete. The harsh but deeply empowering reality is that life does not reward your thoughts alone. It only rewards what you actually do with those thoughts. Success is definitely not what you wish for, it's what you work for.
Let's move to and see how this builds. Mindset opens your mind, right? It gives you the belief in the direction you desperately need. But action acts as the literal bridge connecting those big ideas in your head to the actual reality of your future. If you sit around waiting for the perfect feeling of motivation to strike before you take action, you are going to stay stuck forever because feelings change every single day. Successful people absolutely do not rely on fleeting motivation. They rely on discipline. And discipline is built on small, highly unglamorous actions that you just repeat daily. We're talking about reading one page, making one phone call, practicing one specific skill, completing one single task. These might seem kind of insignificant in the moment, but over time, these small actions compound. You start gaining real confidence, you see tangible results, and those results circle back to reinforce your positive mindset. It becomes an unstoppable, self-feeding cycle.
And finally, we arrive at section 6, guarding your mental garden.
So I want to ask you a really stark question. What are you actually allowing into your mind daily? Your life isn't shaped by one big dramatic moment. It is shaped by what you repeat every single day. And your mind is constantly, quietly being influenced.
Think about it. What you watch, what you hear on your commute, what you read, the conversations you have, the people you spend the most time with. Your mind is constantly eavesdropping on its environment. If you consistently feed it negativity, gossip, doubt, and fear, you are slowly going to begin seeing the entire world through that exact lens.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this profound truth. Input becomes identity. Look, you cannot control everything that happens out there in the outside world, but you have absolute, total control over what gets to stay in your mind. Your mind is not a dumping ground for whatever the world decides to throw at it. It is a creation space. What you repeatedly expose yourself to becomes what you eventually believe, and what you believe dictates exactly how you live.
Think of your mind as a garden. It's a great metaphor. You simply cannot plant weeds in your mind every single day and then act all surprised when you don't get beautiful flowers in your life. It's impossible. If you want a stronger, better life, you must be ruthlessly disciplined about feeding your mind stronger, better ideas.
So, to summarize the core thesis of this whole explainer, success is highly predictable. It really isn't magic, and it sure isn't luck. It is simply the natural result of this deliberate repeating cycle of consistent positive thinking paired directly with consistent disciplined action. You don't need perfect thinking, and you definitely don't need perfect action. You just need consistency.
I'll leave you with this. Take a hard look at your daily habits today. Look at the thoughts you entertain and the actions you're avoiding. Are your daily choices building you up, or are they breaking you down? The responsibility is